Welcome to the Sonoma County Winegrape Commission's Winegrape Chronicles. In this monthly series, we'll follow several Sonoma County growers and winemakers through a typical winemaking season, giving you a glimpse into the process behind making some of the world's finest wines.
Hi, my name is Tom Hinde, and I'm with Flowers Vineyard and Winery here on what we call the Sonoma Coast, or the true extreme Sonoma Coast. With me today is Larry Bradley, a viticulturalist who farms this ranch out here, and we're standing on the San Andreas Fault today. It's August 22nd. We're a little ahead this year, but I want to let you know we're 1 mile from the Pacific Ocean. We're about 8 miles north of Bodega Bay, and we're at an elevation of about 1,800 feet, and it's here where we farm some pretty extreme Pinot Noir. The Sonoma Coast is the only Sonoma County AVA that is located on the Pacific Ocean. The others are slightly inland, and we think that having the Pacific Ocean in our lives and in our vineyards at all times has an effect. It allows us to grow some pretty balanced fruit, some very interesting flavors, and Larry can kind of tell you what we're doing this time of year out here in the vineyard.
Well, unlike today, that it's really extremely warm today, we're in an inversion. The ocean usually is like our refrigerator. So we get lower temperatures in the 60s consistently. We get fog coming in, which allows us to grow Pinot Noir up here at 1,800 feet. It's the cooler temperatures from the maritime influence that we get. We've had a very long growing season. We budded out in March. It's now in August. We're in full veraison. We just basically put our nets on and did our final drop, which is, we called it a phase drop, which you'll see a little bit of demonstration later, which is we drop all the pink or unripe fruit or uneven fruit on our vines, trying to get the most uniform fruit or clusters of Pinot Noir on the vine so we can make a better balanced wine in the winery.
You can see we've put our bird protection up. Pinot Noir colors up before other varietals. Pinot Noir gains sugar before other varietals, so it becomes very desirable for birds to want to come in, and they can kind of eat you out of house and home. Nets are the most effective measure against birds. We want this fruit intact. We want the fruit, and we want it safe and sound when it's time to make Sonoma Coast wines out of it. We'll start testing fruit for sugar content. We'll start testing fruit for total acidity content. We'll look at the balance in the pH of that acidity. And most importantly, we'll taste fruit today to give us a sense of the feel of the fruit, the flavors of the fruit, seed color, and skin texture, which will begin to give us our final winemaking decisions as we start harvest here very shortly. Larry, what I see here is everything looks really balanced. This is our final chance to really come in here and make any last adjustment to bring our balance together for what we're going to see at harvest.
Yeah. Our crew just did our final pass of thinning our Pinot Noir, which is what we call a phase adjustment, where we take any kind of rose-colored fruit or off-colored or bleached out from the sun where we get too much sun on it, and to make everything pretty well even. So we've got extremely black-colored fruit in the same, what we call state of phenology or state of growth. They're all in the same phase. So we can make better balanced, even wines back at the winery and pick at lower sugar levels as well. So this is a second crop
up there, and you can see the difference between what an out of phase green will look like versus a more ripe contender. And this will never make it into the winery. Interesting enough is what we've left behind here is a variety of rose-colored, sort of half-ripe clusters, things that'll never get the internal ripeness we like to see for even balance in the wine. It's getting to be about that time, Larry. It's time when we kind of reach in and start thinking about assessing the fruit this year. It looks like things are softening up pretty well. I'm going to start tasting. You might want to check the sugar on.
Yeah, what we normally do is we'll send our vit techs, so we have assistants in the winery, to come around and sample all our blocks. So we do berry sampling, and we take them back to the winery and measure sugars and our pH and our total acidity to determine levels of ripeness, as well as looking at physical factors in the grapes and tasting in the field. One of the things that I'll just show you, we take a bunch of these samples, these berry samples, back to the winery in bags and run the samples there. But in the winery we'll be using a refractometer, which just measures basically sugars, or we call it Brix levels. So it's measuring how much sugar is in this, and then that'll determine potential alcohols. And we usually like to pick around between 23 and 25 Brix, so we don't get too high alcohols, but they're in the flavor profiles that we usually like. So I'm just going to run this sample here really quickly to see where we are in this block here on top of the hill. And right now we're standing at 21 Brix. So we've probably got about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks until it hits 23 Brix.
You know, some of the other indicators flavor-wise, we're looking, the seeds still haven't lignified fully. They'll get some brown in them. And then we're also looking at colors in the skins and textures in the skins. So we look at physiological ripeness as well as whether the numbers are there. We want, again, perfect balance between potential alcohol and fermentation or resulting final alcohol. And we want to look at acid and then textural balance on the palate as well. We could tell an awful lot by tasting. Before we had refractometers, we had our palates, and we always have to trust that instinct. But as Larry mentioned, we take things to the lab and we can get a good indication of the balance that's there technically as well as physiologically. So we followed the fruit into the lab. What we've done is walk through the wine or through the vineyard, and now we've taken a composite selection sample from the various blocks at the ranch, and we've crushed them up and formed juice, and now we can do some juice analysis. If you look here, we have various blocks throughout the ranch, and it's here where we can actually taste them in a composite sense instead of just as individual berries on the vine, and really start to evaluate texture and structure. But we can also run a variety of tests on these wines and look at the pH, the balance, the total acidity, and the overall Brix as a composite from the block. So it's now that we're going to begin to view our harvest decisions, and I'm kind of glad we went out and walked today. We found out some fun things out there, Larry.
Harvest and or watering decisions too, because some of these blocks it's pretty warm today, so they're getting some elevated sugars, maybe too high for what we want them right now. But the acids are still very, very high. So what we'll go through now and make a decision on the viticulture side is to water some of these blocks so they don't dehydrate or the berries start shriveling, and that will elevate the Brix levels or the sugar levels, but the acid levels will also concentrate. So they're not ready to pick physiologically right now or by taste. So we're going to go through and water some of these blocks very minimally to hold them in for a few days or even a week so we can develop better flavors or overall better balance.
Today we're tasting the 2004 vintage Pinot Noir, and it's our estate vineyard from the vineyards we were just in, and it's a lovely balanced wine. We bring the Pinot Noir in here to the winery and we handle it very gently. We've spent a lot of time paying attention in the vineyard. So we bring this fresh fruit here. We sort it on our sorting table. It gets destemmed only, and it's gently conveyed to our open top fermenters. We achieve about 75% whole berry in that open top fermentation environment. We cold soak that fruit for about 5 days before fermentation to extract color and flavor and tannin and spice components, the building blocks of our winemaking process. We ferment that fruit. All the free-run wine goes to barrel. We age for 14 to 16 months in French oak barrels, and we try to draw in the winemaking process the same balance that we farm for. The reason we do what we do is so that Pinot Noir lovers throughout the world can enjoy good Pinot Noir from the extreme Sonoma coast here in Sonoma County. And it's our pleasure to be able to continue to make these wines. Larry, we have a little more work to do this harvest. We got to keep our eye on those vineyards, and
here's to a good harvest.
We'll be out here doing it until it's done.
All weekend.